Hello, everyone. Welcome. How are you guys? Good. Did you guys have a good lunch? Good. Who doesn't love pizza? My name's Ashley McIntyre. For those of you that I haven't met before, I am a nutritionist and I'm a licensed dietitian nutritionist in the state of Florida. Really excited to be here. I'm actually from the area, grew up here, and then my husband actually grew up here as well. We just met in college, so decided to settle back down here. And we have two girls that are almost 11 and 13 now, just started back to school yesterday. So that's a little bit about me, but I'm from the area. I see clients, one-on-one clients virtually, through Zoom on my computer. And, if you have questions, please feel free to ask as we go along. You don't have to, stay till the end. It can be more conversational. So I'm excited to talk to you guys about something that I think is very lacking in most people's diets, which is fiber. So I call it the unsung hero of your health. It can really support, your brain health, our belly, our microbiome, and our gut bacteria in our body. So by incorporating it, it's not switching. Hold on. There we go. By incorporating it into every meal, you're really doing your body a favor. And every fiber-rich bite that you have is an investment, like I said, in your brain, in your belly, and in your future, your longevity. So it's important to have with every single meal that we eat. So what is fiber really? So not all carbs are created equal. Fiber is the part of the plant that your body can't digest. So when we talk about the microbiome and the bacteria that is in your gut, your bacteria digest your fiber. So fiber is found in fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. And there are two different types of fiber. They're soluble, which becomes like a gel-like consistency when it's mixed with water. And so that slows digestion down, keeps you fuller longer, makes you stay satiated. It can also lower LDL cholesterol when you consume enough or more soluble fiber, and it can improve blood sugar. So that's why we talk a lot about eating enough fiber with our meals. For those of you that have heard me speak before, I've talked about the critical four, which we'll talk about later, but fiber is one of the critical four. So things that have soluble fiber would be like oatmeal, beans, apples and pears with the skin on, avocados, Brussels sprouts, and psyllium husk is a great one if you are somebody that adds psyllium husk to oatmeal or smoothies or anything. Really great soluble fiber. The other type of fiber is called insoluble fiber. So it actually just kind of adds bulk to bowel movements, to stool, and it helps move things through. So it supports like regular bowel movements, which we want to have. And things that are high in insoluble fiber, because foods have both. So nuts, whole grains, beans, again, just like with soluble fiber, berries, and green peas specifically are very high in insoluble fiber, So there's two different types. You want to make sure you get a mix. In general, there's a lot of fiber in skin. So I've even heard of people eating kiwi skin, which sounds yucky to me. But if you like that, it's very good for you. It has a lot of fiber in it. But just like when I say with apples and pears, just make sure to eat the skin, because that does have a lot of fiber in it. Even when you're looking at sweet potatoes and regular potatoes, again, the skin contains fiber and can help slow digestion. So why does fiber matter specifically with Parkinson's disease? Because, this is Parkinson's place, and I want to, support you and give you kind of the reason why behind it. We want to have some relief for some of the common symptoms. A common symptom with Parkinson's is constipation. So if we're increasing our fiber intake, that's going to help with more regular bowel movements. And it, supports obviously a regularity in gut motility. And the reason that we want that we want to make sure that you're having at least one bowel movement a day, is to support detoxification. Your body's detox system, we've talked about it here, but your body detoxes in two ways. So one is through the skin when we sweat, That is a huge way that our body detoxes. The other way is through bowel movements. So if you are chronically constipated and, aren't using the restroom daily, the toxins that we come in contact with, whether it's food, products that we put on our skin or whatever, they're just being recirculated. So they can't get out if you don't give them an avenue to your for your body to release them. So we want to make sure that we're not constipated. And it may actually reduce inflammation in the gut-brain axis, which I'm going to show you a picture of on the next slide. The gut-brain axis is also known as your vagus nerve. Being here at Parkinson's Place, we want to have a high, alert and awareness of what things can help promote, neuronal health, or that can help slow the progression of the disease. And a fiber-rich diet is also associated with slower progression of neurodegenerative diseases, which Parkinson's disease would fall under that. So how many of you have heard that your gut and your brain actually talk to each other? Have you guys seen information or read information about it? What do you guys know? No? Okay, well, I'll show you the next slide. There we go. So this is from a book that focuses on, it's called Digestive Wellness. It focuses on how gut health can really impact overall health. And this is a picture of your brain. When the word anatomy, underneath it is your brain, and then it's your colon. So in between there is called your vagus nerve, which is your gut-brain axis. On the left-hand side, you'll see that it's almost like there's a 9-lane highway that runs from our gut to our brain, and there's a 1-lane highway that goes from our brain to our gut. So things that, inflammation in the gut, constipation, not having regular bowel movements, things like that can definitely have an impact on our brain. So we want to support our gut by eating fiber so that, the little bacteria in our gut have something to eat, and that we want the healthy ones to obviously thrive. So the gut actually talks to the brain, and that's why it's, fiber plays a key role in brain health and protecting our brain cells. That's my only book lecture slide today. So I like this picture on the left. So this is obviously it's a makeup picture. They didn't actually take this in someone's colon, but it's what it looks like, from a cellular perspective, kind of. So these little finger-like projections are called villi, and those villi are what absorb nutrients and get them into your bloodstream to give you energy and support health, and get all the nutrients, fat-soluble vitamins, water-soluble vitamins, all of it. But they also have all of the bacteria kind of in within them, especially in our colon. And fiber is food for the bacteria. So we're actually feeding the bacteria. And when the fiber eat the bacteria, they produce things called short-chain fatty acids. And when they produce these short-chain fatty acids, it reduces inflammation. Again, it protects that blood-brain barrier, and it supports immune tolerance, which we'll talk about later a little bit. So healthy gut not only equals better digestion, better mood, but also immune defense. So we want to make sure that we're feeding that bacteria. If you had to guess, this is a question, do you think we have more human cells or bacterial cells in our body? Yes. Yes, I did not know that, though, before I went back and got my master's in nutrition. So I would have guessed human cells. But there's definitely more bacteria, trillions and trillions of bacteria. And it's not all good, and it's not all bad. We have both, but we want to have more of the good guys, right? So we want to make sure we feed them and keep them alive. So how do fiber and blood sugar really play a role? So, I am on the right side. Sorry, that was on the wrong slide for a second. So smoother rides and fewer spikes. So we've talked a lot about, making sure that we're having balanced blood sugar, and fiber plays a huge role in that. Specifically, soluble fiber slows glucose absorption, which really means fewer blood glucose spikes. So you're not having as many peaks in your blood sugar and valleys, which is really what creates chronic inflammation at a cellular level. So we want to make sure that we have steady blood sugar by eating fiber. It gives us more energy, better mood, and less fatigue, which I know is a common symptom of Parkinson's. So if we think of food as fuel, fiber should be part of that fuel that we're consuming so that we can get enough energy throughout the day. And it can also help reduce sugar cravings. How many people have sugar cravings? That is definitely part of Parkinson's too, right? I've heard that there are lots of sugar cravings. So not that we're going to make them go away. I can't totally. Me too. I'm a chocoholic. Is that how you say it? But if you can, the more you have the peaks and valleys of, glucose or sugar in your bloodstream, the more cravings you're going to have. So the more stable your blood sugar, the less sugar cravings we're going to have. I don't think we're going to make them completely go away, but we can make them a little less if we consume a little bit more fiber. So who has had like a big meal? Like think of a Thanksgiving meal that like it's a huge meal and then you take a nap after. So that's like a typical blood sugar crash. So because a lot of the things when I think of Thanksgiving anyways, I think of sweet potato casserole. I think of stuffing, like lots of carbohydrates that then turn into sugar in our bloodstream. So that is an over-exaggerated version of what I'm saying, because we shouldn't take a nap after every meal. But if we're feeling a crash an hour or two after every single meal, that's something to look into to see, am I consuming enough fiber to help kind of slow my digestion process so that I'm not having these blood sugar spikes. So the next slide is the critical four that I've talked about quite a bit. And it's how to have balanced blood sugar. So the critical four is protein, healthy fat, colorful fruits and veggies, and then low glycemic starches. So this is what, if we were plating every single meal, what our meal would look like, which I realize is unrealistic, but half of your plate would be your non-starchy fruits and vegetables. The other half would have like healthy fats like avocados, nuts, olive oil, something like that. Then you'd have your whole grains and starches like a sweet potato or rice or quinoa, and then your protein, whether it be plant or animal based. So that would be ideal. But we don't all eat like that, and sometimes we're on the run, or we just don't have a lot of time to make that type of meal. So I call it the critical four. So if you can eat protein, fat, and fiber together, so again, fiber focused, that's going to reduce your blood sugar spike. And then I add color as the fourth, just because I want to make sure you're getting a lot of micronutrients in. So does anyone have a meal that they've eaten today that has those four things in it that they want to share? Blueberries are good. Blueberries, oatmeal, maybe some like nuts to add some fat. You could add some like slivered almonds or like a more nut-focused granola, or even like some nut butter if you wanted to just drizzle it if you're having if nuts are too hard to chew. But that would be something good, or even have like an egg on the side of it to add some protein in. But blueberries are really good for brain health. So I'll give you a big there. So, we've talked a little bit about blood sugar. I wanted to kind of bring it back to why blood sugar is so important for Parkinson's disease. And if we think of our brain like a car engine and that it runs on fuel, so we're talking about food being our fuel, right? Your brain is going to use sugar from your food as fuel. So in Parkinson's disease specifically, it affects your brain cells that make dopamine, which help with movement, balance, mood, thinking. So if your blood sugar is going up and down all day, it's like giving your brain too much fuel or not enough, and then it causes problems. So what might happen, do you guys think, if you have too much fuel? It's like too much, like at the blood sugar spike specifically with someone with Parkinson's? Diabetes can happen over time for sure, because your pancreas is going to be overworking to output the insulin. But having blood sugar that's too high chronically for someone with Parkinson's can damage more brain cells over time. It creates that inflammation that we don't want. It's harder for the brain cells to use dopamine properly when blood sugar is too high, and it can create fatigue. Now, when we have the crash and your blood sugar is too low, tremors, brain fog, weakness can happen. And it can make it hard to think clearly, right? Like that brain fog. I've read that it's similar to people talk about an off moment, you feel off. So if we eat the protein, fiber, and fat together, right, and we have steady blood sugar, you're never gonna be in a line all day long, but we wanna have rolling hills versus peaks and valleys. It's gonna give your brain cells a steady supply of sugar, so glucose that it needs. It helps dopamine work better, reduces that inflammation, and it can support better movement, mood, and focus. So that's kind of a lot of goals. So a lot of things that, can be supportive as an adjunct to the medication that your doctors have you on, just by using food as fuel. So it's not something that's going to replace medication, but it's just an adjunct to work together. So how can fiber actually help our immune system, especially as we're heading into the fall? And if you have grandkids, they've gone back to school, they're all germy. My kids are coming home already, all germy. So, how does fiber kind of strengthen our immune system? At least 70% of our immune system is housed in our gut. So again, kind of going back to fiber and supporting our gut, bacteria, the more we eat, the more we can have a beneficial microbiome. So fiber supports that gut lining, reducing inflammation and leaky gut. Have you guys heard of leaky gut? Do you guys know what that is? So the picture that I showed earlier with the little villi that were coming out, that is your gut lining. And there's actually, beneath the villi, there's only one cell that separates your gut from your bloodstream. So if we're chronically stressed, we take a lot of medication. NSAIDs have even been shown to break your gut-line barrier. There becomes a break in your gut lining, and that's what's called leaky gut. And then what can happen over time is that it allows food particles to get into your bloodstream. And then all of a sudden, you're every time I eat X food, I get a rash. It's because your body is attacking, or it's not even just a rash. That was just an example. It can be anything. I break out. I have an upset stomach. There's many different reactions that can happen, but your body is now that food doesn't belong in the bloodstream, so I'm going to attack it like it's a foreign enemy. So now our immune system's overactivated, and it attacks it. And so then every time you eat that food, because you have leaky gut, it's causing those symptoms. So we want to avoid leaky gut and make sure our gut-lining barrier is healed and in good form. There are some tests that can be done for that. There are different stool tests, different blood markers that they can look for. But I don't know that we've gone into leaky gut before, so I'm actually glad we talked about it, because that's something that you can easily test for, and then heal with different herbs. Like L-glutamine is a great one to help heal the gut lining. And then short chain fatty acids actually promote Treg cells, or they're also known as regulatory T cells, for a better immune balance when your gut bacteria eat the fiber that you consume, because remember, that's food for them. They produce those short chain fatty acids, and then that keeps your immune system calm. So it fights what it should, like an actual bacteria, and not overreacting. So that's what would cause autoimmunity or something like that. So who's aware of what happens if you consume a large amount of sugar and the suppression of your immune system? Are you guys familiar with that connection there? So I think the study was 75 grams of sugar, so 2 Coca-Colas-ish. And after consumption for up to 5 hours, the immune system was compromised and didn't work as efficiently as it normally does. So less than 50% of efficiency. So just think about that when you're eating, to try to space out your sugar throughout the day and keep fiber forward. So fiber is also really important for heart health and longevity. How many grams of fiber do you think most Americans get? That's something that's on our next slide. Is that something that anyone has ever tracked? I'm sure everyone at some point has looked at calories, right? I think fiber is more important than calories. So we'll talk about it in the next slide, but the average American gets around 10, 15. In the next slide, we'll talk about like recommendations that I would recommend that are more optimal. But again, fiber can lower LDL cholesterol. It reduces the risk of stroke and cardiovascular disease. It has people that consume enough fiber or larger amounts of fiber are associated with lower mortality from all causes. And it helps manage weight and satiety as well. So on the next slide, so what I recommend to my clients fiber-wise is for women, I recommend a minimum of 30 grams a day. And for men, I recommend a minimum of 40 a day. So most people get less than 50% of this. If you are going to start adding more fiber, which hopefully this presentation has, encouraged you to do, I would start really slow, and I would see where you're at today. There's a great website or app, whichever one you choose to use, called Chronometer. So it's CRONO meter, METER. So you can go download the app, or you can go to their website, whichever is more convenient, and you can kind of put in the foods that you eat throughout the day, and it'll calculate everything. It won't just calculate it'll calculate your macronutrients like protein, fat, and carbohydrates, but it'll also look at micronutrients, and fiber is one of those. And you can kind of see which foods you're currently eating that have the most fiber, so you can add more of those in, or we're going to talk about other foods that you might want to add in as well. Does anyone currently have something that they eat daily that is high in fiber that they want to share? No? Oatmeal is a great one. Oatmeal is a great one. Adding like psyllium husk or chia seeds, if you can tolerate those in, would be another way to add in more fiber, but that's a great one. And oatmeal is really great for cholesterol management as well. So that is a great one to continue eating. So what else can we add in? So easy fiber boosters throughout the day. So like I said, chia or flax seeds. Psyllium husk is very similar. When it's like ground psyllium husk has the same texture as like flax seeds. So, just a way to kind of break it up, or if you don't like the flavor of flax seeds, to try something different. Swapping white bread for 100% whole grain. Adding lentils and beans into salads and soups. Snacking on like pears and apples with the yes, thank you. I'm like, what's the word? Carrots or nuts. And then cooking lots of different veggies, even just roasting them to throw in different meals. Another one is if you're a pasta person, you can try, there is lentil pasta and chickpea pasta. And you just have to see it's a little bit of a different texture than regular pasta, but it really doesn't have flavor. Just like pasta doesn't really have flavor, you put sauce on it, but they're very high in fiber. And you can just get those from Publix. But that's a great swap if you're a big fan of pasta to try something different. That would be high in fiber. They're also high in protein too, so it kind of kills two birds with one stone. Any of these swaps you feel like you would try to take? You guys are quiet today. Yeah. Yeah, like chickpeas or white beans or really any type of beans. Lentils are fun too. Sometimes they're too small for a salad, but yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a great addition. Or even if you're making like a scramble, like an egg scramble, and you're adding in some veggies, you can also add in some beans to that too. Makes it a little bit more fiberlicious. Yes.
Actually, last night I put together zucchini and red pepper and onion and stir-fried it a little bit, Carl raved about it.
Yay!
He did. So, that's
Now, what sauce, like, what did you saute them with?
I had a little bit of canola oil and butter. I
Awesome.
had butter in there,
That's okay.
but yeah,
It's a healthy fat.
so it was onion and the zucchini and red pepper.
Awesome.
They were different shapes,
Yeah.
and it was excellent.
See,
That's our latest fiber thing, I guess.
I like it.
Zucchini you can mix with a lot of different things, as everybody probably knows, and yellow squash, those two
Yeah.
mix well.
And depending on how more or less or longer or shorter you cook it, it can have a much different texture,
It does.
which I love because I feel like it's versatile in that way. Oh, I love that. That sounds delicious. And kudos to you for getting accolades for it.
Yeah, he liked it. Gives me encouragement.
We all need that. We all need that. So this is just a list of like some of the foods highest in fiber. I do have a list back there if you want to sign up your email. I'd be happy to send like this list to you. And then I have a couple recipes at the end that I'd be happy to share. But some of the foods highest in fiber, we've talked about berries and pears and apples. Lots of your cruciferous vegetables, so think broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower. Be mindful of cauliflower. Sometimes cauliflower and onions can, for people that have digestive issues and bloating and gas, that can be a trigger. So if that's something that you deal with, I would watch out for that. But lots of beans like lentils, lima beans, black beans. Edamame is actually a bean as well. It's in the legume family, and it's also very high in protein. And quinoa is pretty high in protein too. Lots of nuts and seeds. So lots of different things to like add to your daily fix, whether it's adding some almonds or some seeds to your oatmeal that you have every morning, or if it's like a snack, like you're just going to have some sunflower seeds in the afternoon or some pumpkin seeds. Toasted sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds with a little sea salt is delicious, and you don't have to toast them yourself. You can buy them that way. But it's just a great snack for the afternoon. But yeah, I'd be happy to send these to you if it's easy to keep on your phone, or if it's something that you can print out and take with you to the grocery to kind of inspire you to buy some different fiber forward foods. So, small tweaks, really big wins. So, with every bite, your fiber is feeding your gut, helping your brain, supporting your immune system. It can really help manage, symptoms of Parkinson's disease. So symptoms like constipation, fatigue, and mood. And I would think like, instead of being really structured about fiber, I would think like, what can I add in? Like the list before, like what do you typically like foods from the page before if I go, I don't know if I can go back. Oh, I think I can. So some of these foods, if you look at them and they're foods that you like sunflower seeds for me are something that I like, but that I don't typically have around. So maybe that's something that I buy this week to start something new. So anything new that you can bring in that's more fiber. And I do highly recommend just seeing how much you're currently eating. Because if you're eating a ton of vegetables and a ton of berries and you like chia seed pudding and all that, maybe you're in a good spot and you don't need to add more. But if you're somebody that, doesn't have regular bowel movements, is constipated and doesn't eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, it might be, a good time to see where you're at and to see if you need to add more fiber into your diet. So, yes.
How strong is the connection between fiber and fatigue?
I'm trying to see how I could correlate that. I mean, in terms of fiber and fatigue, the way that I would see it is kind of going back to blood sugar. So if you're not eating very much fiber, little to none, then your blood sugar probably isn't super stabilized and it's spiking a lot, and that's going to lead to fatigue if you're having spikes and valleys. But I don't think, unless we're looking at it from that perspective, it's not like, you're not, just because you eat no fiber, you're going to have fatigue. But I know that is a symptom with Parkinson's, and, eating fiber forward meals and, making sure we're getting protein, fat, and fiber into every meal is going to balance the blood sugar, which should support better energy levels, so less fatigue.
And moods that with the blood sugar, like with the spikes, your moods will change so quickly with blood sugar spikes.
Mm-hmm. Have you experienced that?
Yeah, I have type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
And I know that when my blood sugar gets high, my stomach will start to hurt, and then I will get crappy.
Yeah.
It will be very short fuse. So, yeah, I know that has a lot to do with, and then that has to do with how I want to do things, like fatigue-wise.
Right.
Yeah.
Like getting off the
Wanting to
couch.
do things.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No, for sure. Yeah. So like I said, if you want the list of foods, I'd be happy to send it to you. And, I just encourage you when you think about, your meals, think about the critical four, like the main things to eat to balance blood sugar, to support, a fiber forward diet. So protein, fat, fiber, and then color. And then I think I left some recipes at the end of this. Well, any questions before I? Yeah.
How do you spell that chronometer?
Chronometer. It's CRONO and then meter.
I got it right.
Yeah. So they have an app and they have a website. I find them pretty friendly, like user friendly. Don't buy the paid version though. The paid version just takes off the ads, which I don't really care about the ads. So, but I think it's like $60 for the year, and I tell my clients not to buy it. So, if you're going to look at it, from a fiber perspective or really any perspective, I would do like 2 or 3 days. I usually tell clients to do 2 weekdays and 1 weekend day because I think most of us eat differently on the weekend. And so then you're going to get a good idea of how much you're taking in, and, don't track a day if it's like an abnormal day for you. Because I'll have a client be like, well, I tracked yesterday, but I ate out 4 meals. And I'm like, well, if that's not normally the way you eat, then, I don't want to go based off that. So do based upon what you're normally consuming too. Like I said, I do see clients virtually. If you're interested, I offer free to 20-minute discovery calls. There's information in the back on that, or you can use this QR code. And I think I have a few recipes that I was going to share as well. So this is something for all clients, especially clients if you guys are having issues chewing, if chewing is hard. Making sure like on the left that these are smoothies based on the critical four. So I usually tell clients to get like a couple good healthy fats that they like. So you can use any type of nut butter, MCT oil. You can even use avocado, which is kind of my favorite because avocado it's creamy. It adds creaminess to a smoothie, but it doesn't add a ton of flavor. You can even add like olive oil if you're looking for something that's like more of a salty smoothie, or Greek yogurt is really high in fat, but protein as well. And then when we look at like different fibers to add in, the fibers that I find that are the easiest to add into smoothies are like flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds. Acacia fiber is really thinning. So if you like smoothies to be more thin and more like liquidy, if you will, that's a great fiber to add in. Psyllium husk is great for cholesterol management, really high in fiber. It is going to make the smoothie thicker. So it'll make it just like a more dense like consistency. And then really any protein powder of choice, whatever, there's so many different options. I'm not really biased to them. Whey protein, if you tolerate milk, is probably one of the cleanest proteins that you can get if you're, if you're okay with whey. And then when you're adding in color, there's so many different fun things you can do to add in color. Because like spinach, you barely taste. It'll totally change the color. So you're not going to hide that from your grandkids. But spinach is great. Any frozen berries or bananas, mangoes. The other thing that I really love to throw in is cauliflower. So if you get riced cauliflower from the frozen fruit section and you throw that into a smoothie, you won't really taste it. It'll just make it thicker because it's just adding a little bit more density to it. And then for the base, you can use whatever you want. You can use milk, nut milk. I would say, I think I meant to say avoid oat milk. I don't recommend oat milk because it can spike your blood sugar. So I don't recommend oat milk, and I try to avoid juice as well because it's the same thing in terms of spiking blood sugar. But another one, especially since it's still so hot here in Florida, to add in is coconut water. So that would be pretty hydrating, and adding in electrolytes to smoothies. So this is kind of like, a broad version of different things you can add into smoothies, especially when it's so hot. And if you're having some issues with chewing, it's a great alternative to get a lot of different nutrients in.
If you want to mask like all the flavors, like if something you don't like in it, a little bit of peanut butter powder will mask.
Ah, there you go. I've never used the powder. I'll use peanut butter, but okay. Are you a big smoothie person?
He is.
I like smoothies too. I do. I like them a lot. I like my favorite fat to add is usually almond butter, just because I like the taste of it. But peanut butter works too. Any other questions for me?
Yes, I have a question.
Oh, okay.
What do you think of a couple tablespoons of wheat bran in cereal?
I think it's good. I would make sure it's organic. Wheat is probably one of the most highly sprayed crops with glyphosate, especially in the United States. So some people don't necessarily not tolerate gluten. They're not tolerating the pesticides that are being sprayed on the crops. So I think that's great, because it would add in fiber, but I would make sure if it's organic if you're using that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
How can a fiber be non-soluble and soluble at the same time?
Yeah, it just has components of both. So when you look at like an apple or beans are a really good example. They have components of both. There's very few foods I'm not sure that there are any foods that have fiber that are only one fiber. I think they all kind of have compositions of both. But I'd be more than happy to send out, the smoothie basics and the list of fiber, highest fiber foods if you're interested and you want to, put your email up back there. Any other questions that I can help with?
Green tea be good for the base of smoothies?
Yeah. Green tea is very anti-inflammatory. It has lots of polyphenols in it, so very good for reducing inflammation. When I've gone over just like the general, kind of bits and pieces that have been showed clinically in studies to be beneficial for Parkinson's disease, green tea is definitely one of them. Yeah.
Everybody's saying green tea and dark chocolate
Combination together?
Yeah, green tea and dark chocolate.
Oh, I haven't heard of them together, but they are both individually, I've read.
Well, I meant, not individual or together.
Yeah. Yes, no, they are good. Green tea, I actually took a botanicals class when I went to grad school for nutrition. And my botanicals professor, she was a little kooky, but she was always like, you can't drink too much green tea, because there's just been so many good studies around it. It's been around for so long. I would just say that I would avoid drinking it after like the 2 to 3 p.m. time frame if you have issues with sleeping, because it does have a little bit of caffeine in it. It's more difficult to find, but you can find decaf green tea if you're wanting to add it to like an afternoon smoothie or something. But dark chocolate as well, you're right on that one, especially with brain health. Dark chocolate has been shown to be beneficial for brain health, for sure. I like dark chocolate. The studies that show it, I believe it's either 75 or 80% cacao that has it's a little bit more bitter, but it's supposed to be have more of the polyphenol compounds and anti-inflammatory benefits there. Yeah. You can get dark chocolate chips.
They're not milk chocolate.
Oh, I have found them. They're at Publix. Now, I haven't looked at Whole Foods because they might be cheaper there, which sounds counterintuitive, but there are two or three brands at Publix that are 80% more or more for dark chocolate chips. They're just really expensive. It's like the bag is like $10 expensive. Yeah. Yeah. So maybe Whole Foods sometimes surprisingly has better pricing on like more specific stuff like that. So for sure. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking to you guys. And if you guys have any recommendations for other talks, for future talks, I love coming to talk to you guys every month. And every like 6 months, I think I've tried to do just a general Parkinson's disease talk. But if you have like a specific topic, I'm all ears. So let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you.